skate world, skate hooligan here, and I am back. Back on YouTube and back on the boards. And it was great to be back on the boards. Cannot tell you how much I enjoyed being back on those boards. Now, here's the deal. For those of you that may not know, back in February, I had a slight accident. It was a small crash, big enough to dislocate the right shoulder. But hey, shoulder is in great shape, feeling really great, running about 95%. Still have some more rehab to do, some more exercises to build up the strength, but it is coming back, and I was able to get back on the boards. Number two, if dislocate my shoulder is on your bucket list, take it off. It's not worth it. It's a pain in the butt. The rehab is a pain in the butt, and it takes a lot of time. It took about 13 weeks to really get my shoulder back to where it is right now, and I still have some more rehab to go to get it back in shape. So take it off the list. Now here's the deal. It's a beautiful day today. Perfect weather, 70 degrees. So what I decided to do a little riding. So we did 52 miles, not jerking your chain, 52 miles. Had the Hurricane out. Had the even GTS out. Had the onboard Zeus out. You know I love that Zeus. 52 miles. Yeah, a little bit of foot fatigue. A little bit of knee fatigue because while I've been working out the shoulder, I kind of forgot to work out and continue to work out some of the other areas. So I need to get back in shape and get the knees and get the feet back into shape so I don't get that knee and foot fatigue. But it was so great to be back on those boards. Love it. Now, there's two things that I want to do today with you. I want to keep this video short. One, let you know that I'm back. Second of all, and I'm not going to preach this to you, but it is really important, safety gear. If you are riding without safety gear, please get some safety gear. At a very minimum, get a half shell. Okay, protect that noggin. I can tell you that when I crashed, I was wearing the full face helmet that you see right here. It without a doubt saved my head. This particular helmet has the inner visor. I can reach over, I can drop that visor down if it's really sunny. It sits inside the shield. It is great to have. The only problem with this helmet is that it gets really warm in the summer. And here it gets about 95 to 100 degrees during the summertime. So what I decided to do is go ahead and pick up a half shell. Now this is the Electra half shell that I have. A couple things that I kind of like about this. It has a really good foam lining in it. It also has a sweatband lining in it, so it keeps that sweat from getting into my eyes. And the big thing that I really like is it has the adjustable back so that you can adjust this helmet. Not all half shells have that. Some of them it's, just the liner. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I really like the fact that this half shell has that adjustable piece in the back. The final thing that I kind of like about it is this particular one, not all Electras do this, this particular one has a reflective surface. I thought that was kind of a good idea. Even though I run the shred lights on my boards, it's also a good idea to have that reflective piece up there so that when headlights hit it, it kind of draws a little bit more attention. So please, if you're not riding with safety gear, get safety gear. Whether it's knee pads, elbow pads, gloves, or a helmet, please get it. Please use it. It is so important to do. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with is that while I was kind of working back up to, like today, riding 52 miles, what I did is I started riding, 2 miles, and then I rode 5 miles, and then I rode 10 miles, just to kind of see how the old shoulder was going to handle it, as well as just kind of get myself back into that riding mentality. Now, during one of the rides, I was out on the onboard Zeus, and I heard this click, 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 and I'm like, what the heck is that? So it's coming from a right rear wheel. So what I did is I pulled out the side, lifted it up, ran the motors, and I could hear that clicking noise. I'm like, ah, dang it, we roached a bearing. So luckily I was only just a couple blocks away from the house. So what I did is I carefully rode back to the house. I got to the house, I took off the wheel, and lo and behold, once you know, I had roached the inner hub bearing. Now, those of you that know, these hub bearings are a little bit larger than your wheel bearings. Okay, so a lot of times these are like 22 millimeter, they're 26 millimeter, or they're 28 millimeter. So I didn't have any extra ones. As y'all know, I carry the black Mambas with me all the time for the wheels. I didn't have any of the hub bearings with me. Okay, so what I did is I called around. In the city that I live in, we have several distributors for bearings. And I called the distributors and I said, hey, do you have X and X 22 millimeter bearing? And I even gave them the number off, and they said, well, yeah, we have that. It's $25. Seriously? $25? It's just a little bearing, But anyway, yeah, they were anywhere from $25 to $29. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of crazy. So I called the second distributor. They were about $18 to $22 for the bearings. And I'm like, wow. So I called the third. And the third one only had the 26 millimeter bearing. And they said, yeah, that'll run you $1.55. And I'm like, $1.55 when these guys were charging me like $25. So what's the deal? So what I ended up doing is I ended up going just on Amazon. And I looked up the bearing number that was on the original bearings, and I matched to a set of bearings on Amazon. And I really looked at them. I looked at the reviews, that kind of stuff, and ended up picking them up. So I picked up a set of 22s, a set of 26s, and a set of 28s. I now have extras, not only on the shelf, but I also have extras in the bag, as well as I replaced all the hub bearings for the beginning of this riding season. So basically at $1.55 to $1.75 per bearing, I think it's a great idea at the beginning of every riding season, just replace the bearing. Okay, just throw the bearing away, put a new bearing in. Now, what I also did is I had just recently put new wheel bearings in my wheels. So instead of throwing them away, what I did is I pulled them. I pulled the cover off. I use a 93% rubbing alcohol solution, and I clean my bearings using that solution. I then pat them dry, let them air dry for a while, and then I run a blow dryer on them to make sure they're good and dry. And then what I do is I use the Bones Speed Cream, put about 2 to 3 drops in, and then put the seals back on and go ahead and put them back in the board. So I went ahead and cleaned everything. So the bearings and the wheels that are on the current boards have all been gone through and redone. That's something I would really recommend that you do. I figure at basically $1.55, $1.75 per bearing, just go ahead and replace it at the beginning. I'm gonna maybe consider replacing at mid-year. Just throw the bearing away, put a new bearing in. But at the very minimum, make sure you have bearings at home so that you're able, if you do roach one, you're able to replace it pretty quickly and get back on the board. So that's kind of my tip for today. Nothing major, but here I thought I was all prepared and I wasn't. So I don't know, maybe you guys all are, I don't know. Hopefully it'll help you out. So a couple of things. Consider doing that maintenance on the bearings, cleaning them, replacing them, whatever it might be. Make sure that you have the riding gear, the proper riding gear, and make sure that you're wearing it. And the third thing is, I'm back. And glad to be back. Glad to be back on YouTube. Glad to be back on the boards. E-Skate Hooligan here. Ride hard, carve safe, and have a great day.